Good morning, boys and girls. We're so glad you're able to join us for another story today. Today, our story is taking place in a land far ago, long ago and far away. You can see right here out our window, there's a pyramid, and we are in the land of Egypt. This story takes place a long time ago, and it takes place with a very special family. We have our daddy, whose name is Amram. We have our mama, whose name is Jochebed. We have big sister Miriam. We have little brother Aaron. And we have a very special baby named Moses, who had just been born. Now, they lived in a time in Egypt when they were slaves, meaning they had to work for other people and they didn't get paid any money. And life was hard for them and they weren't treated nicely. And Pharaoh thought there were getting to be too many of this group of slaves who are called the Israelites. So Pharaoh set out a decree that says, we will take all the baby boys and throw them into the river. Can you imagine taking a baby brother or a baby sister and throwing them into the river? Do you think they could swim? They can't. Not on their own, and they would eventually die in the river. And oh, that was so sad. That was happening in the land where they lived. Now, Mama Jochebed, she didn't want anything to happen to her baby. She loved baby Moses so much. So they tried for a while. Shh, 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 baby Moses, be quiet. Shh, shh. We don't want the bad men to hear you. But you know what? Baby Moses started doing what lots of babies do. He grew and he started getting bigger. And as babies get bigger, they get more noisy and they get louder and they're harder to be quiet. And so Mama Jochebed had an idea. She said, Miriam, I want you to run down to the river and I want you to cut me a big armful of reeds and bring them home. And so Miriam did that. She went down to the river, brought those reeds home, and Mama Jochebed started to make a basket. And she wove those and she made this big basket, big enough to hold a baby, maybe some blankets, maybe some pillows. And she said, we are going to put baby Moses in his basket boat. And so they got him and they put him in there and he cooed and laughed and oh, this was something different and new. And she said, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take him down to the river. Now, most baskets don't float on their own. She had gotten a special pitch and tar and put it all over the basket to make it waterproof so it wouldn't sink in the river. So they picked up their baby and they carried him down to the river. Now, I'm going to have to switch scenes here really quick so we can get to the river. Now, down to the river they went and they took baby Moses in his little basket boat and they tucked him down in the bulrushes. And oh, Mama Jochebed, she must have cried. She didn't know if she'd see her baby again. Maybe she thought they'd put him in the river during the day and bring him home at night. But she probably gave him a hug. She kissed him and put him in the basket and put the lid on and pushed him out into the water. Now, Mama Jochebed, she probably had to go work. So she said, okay, Sister Miriam, you stand there, stand and watch the little basket boat and make sure nothing happens to it. So Sister Miriam stood and she watched, and she stood and she watched. And it must have been kind of scary because in the big river Nile, there were crocodiles that lived in there, and I sure wouldn't want one to sneak up on me. And there were probably other things that lived in the water, and maybe as she was standing there, some fish nibbled at her toes, or maybe she saw a snake slither by, or maybe some birds landed nearby. But all day she kept watch over baby brother. Then all of a sudden she heard some noise. She heard some laughing and some giggling. And here, coming down to the river to take a bath, was the king's daughter and some of her maidservants. Now, can you imagine taking a bath in the river every day? Well, that's what they did. They worshiped the river and came down to take special baths in it. And they came down to the water, and as they got near, the princess, she said, "Oh, what is that in the water? Go get it, go get it." And so she sent one of her maids down to the water, and she pulled out the basket boat that had little Moses in it. Now Miriam was still standing there watching to see what was going to happen to baby brother. And she took the lid off. Baby Moses, oh, it was all this bright light, and I bet he started crying, "Ah, ah, ah." Oh, what are they going to do? She picked him up and took him to the princess. The princess, she was so excited. "Look," she said, "the gods have brought me a baby." And she was so excited. "I will take him and raise him at my own." You better believe she knew it was one of the Hebrew boys that was thrown away in the water. Miriam thought this was a good chance. She came running out and she said, "Princess, princess, can I find someone who will take care of the baby for you until he gets bigger?" The princess says, "That sounds like a good idea." Miriam quickly, she ran home and she came back with Mother Jochebed. And she said, here is a nursemaid that will take care of the baby for you." And the princess was oh so happy. She handed Moses back to Mother, and you better believe Mother was so excited to be holding her sweet baby in her arms again. And she got to raise him until he was 11 years old, where he went to live in the palace with the princess to be raised as her son. But the story doesn't stop there. It goes on, and this little baby Moses became one of the biggest heroes of the Bible. It was good to see you guys. I miss seeing you each week. Have a great day and a happy Sabbath. Goodbye.